Today we're talking with RJI fellow Dagmar Thiel, who is an Ecuadorian journalist and the CEO of the U.S. office of Fundamedios, which is a 13-year-old organization that advocates for Latino journalists. Welcome, Dagmar.
Thank you so much for having me.
Your fellowship program started with some questions about potential harassment that Latino journalists at the hundreds of news outlets across the country might be facing. But on your way, you found something more basic in terms of hurdles that need to be handled. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, we started our study with the background of a huge anti-immigrant and anti-media rhetoric that came from the highest ranks, from the government, with the president himself calling journalists the enemy of the people, and immigrants, the Mexicans, the greasers, the dealers, the rapists, all the criminal words that he could use for Latinos. Then we thought there must be a huge harassment or an increase in the harassment against Latino journalists. We started our research with this idea, and we couldn't find a huge difference in the harassment against all the journalists and the Latino journalists specifically. But working and researching on discrimination factors against Latino journalists, we found that they do not have the same resources as their white peers doing their job. They don't have the same contract conditions than their peers. And this is, of course, worse for women. So this is something that is very disturbing for us, and we found that this needs to be addressed. On the other side, we found also that Latino journalists do have less access to information than their peers. So we have been working on this, and it has been very interesting to see. Of course, there's also racism in different newsrooms and underrepresentations in the newsrooms.
So addressing that inequity in all forms, as you noted, is important, especially when, for example, it involves work that goes unnoticed and unrecognized. How do you think you can help the industry improve?
So it's important that the news management is aware of this and stop this implicit bias when hiring journalists of color in general and Latina journalists in particular, for the matter what we are talking about. And it will bring them also, it will enrich the newsrooms with a vision of a community that's growing. If you have somebody that talks to this community and also you can listen to this community through this journalist, you are enriching what your newsroom is talking about and the vision you're giving of the community and of the society you're talking about.
So do you think you can have some kind of guidelines or something that can help both the journalists and the newsroom?
Yes, we are working on a toolkit to raise awareness that is addressed mainly for Latina journalists. We will also do or connect with the newsrooms to talk to them and to try to get rid of this implicit bias.
In the recent presidential election, one issue that came up was the idea that the Latino community was not one big block of voters, but rather multiple communities with different viewpoints. How does that play out for the newsrooms providing coverage of those communities?
Well, as you have seen, many newsrooms, the newsrooms and the candidates, they just thought, well, there is the Latino community and they are just a block. Well, Latinos are not a block, they are not a monolith, they're as different as everybody else. So it's important to have specific messages and to understand where these communities come from and what they want. And the candidates didn't do that. They didn't understand it. Many of them, they thought just playing music and dancing a little bit, oh, already we have the Latinos, they just dance. No, they also think. And it's important to have this dialogue and to listen to them. And having Latino journalists working in your newsrooms, also in the leadership of the newsroom, it brings a more inclusive image of this community. And Latinos are a thriving community of the United States.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Dagmar. And for more information about Dagmar's project, you can go to www.rjionline.org. And thanks for watching.